Hello, Marky Dragon, also known as Marcus Eikenberry in real life, and welcome to Knoxon, Montana. So, I'm out here today talking more entrepreneurial stuff. So, this time I want to tell you about at what point I decided that I was going to become self-employed and leave my cushy job. So I had a couple of instances of doing that, and a lot of it is blind faith. And so, you may be thinking, okay, I have this side business I'm doing, and I am, working hard on it. It seems to be working out, and I think that maybe it's time that I should look at making the jump from being someone else's employee to being self-employed, or some other people call it self-unemployed. And you hear those ground squirrels? That's what you saw at the beginning of it. They're popping up all over the place, and they're all telling all their buddies, "Oh my God, Marky's close." So, anyway, there are two specific instances where I quit good jobs to go on my own. And the first one was with my computer store. I had been working for TriMet, which is the local bus authority in Portland, Oregon. And I was making good money. I had been there for 4 years and enough seniority. It was a union job. I could have retired there. I mean, union job, at the time, I think the top wage was $15 or $16 an hour. I was getting lots of overtime if I wanted it. And for somebody who is, 24, 25 years old, that was good money. So, and it was a lot of responsibility, but that's the kind of thing that I really thrived at. Driving a bus was really good for me. But I had my computer company that I was doing on the side, and I made a leap of faith. And what I did is I said to them, I want to take a 6-month sabbatical. I think that I want to go out and do this other thing, and that I can do it well, and that that I'm not coming back. But I would like the security of knowing that if after 6 months, if things aren't going well, that I can come back. And so they agreed to that. I wanted a year term, but they only said 6 months. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'll take 6 months. So I had 6 months to make it work. Now, I had some money already, and I had a good volume of sales going on, already, and we went and opened the store, and we had mad success. I remember getting to the 6-month mark and being able to tell them, no, I'm not coming back. Things are working out really good, which was great. So, that was my first experience with being, self-employed, completely self-sufficient, and that worked out well for a few years. That all went kaboom at one point, but that's a whole nother episode that if you've been watching this whole series, you already know about my computer company imploding on itself. So then the second time, I was working for the Department of Energy. I was working in the server support team and doing all kinds of different things, server-related stuff, and it was a good job. I was making good money, and easy hours, plenty of flexibility, and but at that point, I was making some pretty good money on doing sales of game codes, and it was at that point, see, my wife at the time, she was very concerned about me quitting my job again, especially a good job, a good cushy government job, and going back to being self-employed. And this is because after the first one, we went broke after that, and it was a struggle to get back on our feet. I think every entrepreneur has some big disasters because they have big faith in themselves at the same time that they can make things happen. And I think that that's actually a required element for a successful entrepreneur. You have to be willing to fail. And if you're going to put everything in, you have to be willing to lose everything at the same time. That's really hard for a lot of people to swallow, and that was a hard point for my wife at the time. She didn't want me to quit my job. We had security and stuff, and she didn't want that to become a repeat of the time before. So I stuck it out longer at that job, and to the point where I was bringing home, I don't know, maybe $4,000, $5,000 a month gross off of my wage at the government job. And but I was doing, I was making like $10,000 profit a month off of my side stuff. And so, it's kind of like the math there and everything. And but she was still very nervous about me quitting my job. So I did a couple of things. One is that I petitioned to go part-time at my government job for a while to see whether or not those extra hours in the day that I could make them pay off. And so, so let's take me down to 20 hours a week working, and I spend another 20 hours a week on my own endeavor, and for that amount of time, can I make it really pay off? So instead of making $20 an hour at the government job, can I make 40, 60, $100 an hour, something like that at my own business? And the answer was yes, that I was able to dramatically increase my income with my own business, but it was also getting very hard to handle because there was just so much work to do. I was a real workaholic. And so that, worked out in that fashion, but I still had the issue that my wife didn't want me to completely quit my government job, because if this other thing went kaboom, then where would we be? So we came up with this plan, and the plan said that if you can put 6 months worth of living income in the bank, and actually she wanted a year, but what we arranged was 6 months worth of income in the bank that wouldn't be touched, that would be there for if my self-employment went boom and collapsed, then I would have 6 months to find another job. In today's economy, 6 months wouldn't be enough. You'd want it to be a year and a half. And it's just because it's so hard to get a job these days. But back then, I was getting a job, I'd do a couple interviews and I'd have a job. It wasn't too difficult. And in fact, it may not be too difficult for me these days because I have a lot of skills, but given if I just said, let's just say that I was in a rural area and I only have computer skills, and I didn't have the skill set for stuff that was in demand in this area, like this rural area I'm in right now, then I would have to give myself longer. And so anyway, what we did, put the money in the bank, and then I quit my job. And that worked out really well. I have been self-employed ever since, and that was 10 years ago. So, was it 10 years ago? Yeah, a little over 10 years ago. And that's worked out really good. Now, it's had a lot of ups and downs. I've had some really good months, and I've had some really lean months. And but it's all evened out. There's a couple things that I've learned from this. One, being self-employed, you are in charge of your own destiny, no one else. And so it is up to you to make sure that you are secure. And what that means is put some money in savings. Put some money away. I was never very good at that. I was really great at spending it. I was really great at making it. And if I needed more, I just would go out and make more. Well, that formula works when you're on an upward trend, but sometimes the economy changes, things happen, and things go the other way. And when they go the other way, you need some supplemental income. Also, what I've learned is to not spend continually up to how much you're making. I have made hundreds of thousands of dollars a year before, and then I have made as little as $0 in a month, and maybe not zero, maybe down to about 500. And the difference in that income, you got to live within your means. And so I think that something that I've learned from that is that even if Like right now, I make enough income to cover the bills, but it's not a lot so that I can go out and buy a new car or do anything else like that. I'm not. In fact, I'm covering all the basics bills, but I still have some debt to pay. And so that is a struggle for me. I have to continually up my income, even right now. And a lot of this is fallout from, previous agreements that I made and everything that, if I could just start with a 100% clean slate right now, I would, but it's not possible. So you want to have some money in the bank because times will be lean at, different things will happen. And if you think about it, over the course of all this time while doing business, we have had to change and adapt to different things. And one thing that I never expected was that I would get divorced and that my ex-wife would end up owning the company. And then I would have no income and have to make payments to her as well. So that's kind of an odd arrangement. I feel like I got screwed. Yes, I do feel like I got screwed on that, but it is what it is. And so, it puts me in the hole. And it really is a lesson of, you got to have these nest eggs around. You got to have this other stuff. And divorce, of course, you have to split the nest egg. And so, that's how all that works. Anyway, when you make the leap, just make sure that you have your financials in order. If you're at a good job and it's paying you well and the other stuff is not, I would say that a good formula would be that you're able to make double the income from your other job, from your self-employment, then maybe it'd be a good leap, but only after you've put a bunch of money in the bank. So while you're making your whatever a month at your day job, and then you're making twice that a month on your self-employment, don't go blowing that on other things. Put it in the bank so that you have some security, so that when you make that leap, you can supplement with that money in the bank while you are building things up. And God knows, things change. People make mistakes, or things like embezzlement happen, or large thefts from outside of the company. All of those things can happen, have dramatic impacts on your income, and you got to be prepared for that stuff. That stuff's evil, and you want to defeat the evil. I'm Marky Dragon. Take care.